Today I've got another guest. His name is Christopher Bertolino. Read some of what he's written, and then we're going to talk to him. He says, I started going this Facebook full of all the other victims like me. I started collecting medical images and studying implants until I eventually came to the conclusion I have reached understanding that my whole life has been destroyed by neuromodulation systems. Christopher, hello, welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so yes, you are impressive because you have actually done these scans. We've seen these scans on the internet, and they do clearly show implants. And I'm just going to let you start because I know you want to start chronologically, and I think that starts at 2.
My mother got custody of me at 2 after saying some ill things about my father, I understand. She got custody of me, and she was a children's surgical nurse.
Right. Here's the nurse.
Her father was Army Signal Corps.
Okay. There we go.
And I
Red flag.
believe that influenced my mother to go into the particular nursing field she went into.
Quite likely. That is a common story. We are piecing these stories together, and that makes sense. Red flag. Thank you very much. Okay, go on. Your mother plays a huge role.
Well, when I was 2 years old, I had an RFID chip stabbed into my frontal lobe, and that was the beginning of this horror tale of implants, childhood abuse, a life institutionalized by the government, my family, my birthright, my legacy, my destiny, my ethnicity, everything taken from me, everything that a man holds sacred in living to hold on to. And you know, I never got a chance to know myself. I was just a victim. I was to be blamed.
Right.
My mother, all the things she did to hurt me, you know, they were always my fault. The government is the same. My mother is an agent of the government. She is the perpetrator that makes targeted individuals.
Yes.
She started her career, I suppose, by selling me to Satan as a lab animal experiment. She was certainly paid with a career as a healthcare registered nurse.
Yeah, and I suppose that's good enough for them, right? That's just all, you know. But there must be some...
My mother was hateful. She hated me.
Yeah.
She hated my father, and despite my father, she hurt me.
Yes, that's true. So she never loved you.
She never loved me.
I totally get that from everything you've said. And
treat me aborted, and she couldn't hold me in stillborn, and I was C-section removed from her womb. My family was nothing but crap according to her. We were mobster pimps, bookies for the mob according to her.
Right.
Later in life, I found out, you know, we were a bail bondsman company, and, you know...
Right, you found the truth.
We bounty hunted down criminals. But, you know, my mother did this intentionally. She was, you know, she sold me to Satan and the government for her career as an RN.
Yeah.
She got a wonderful career as an RN by selling me to the healthcare system to be a lab animal. At 2 years old, I got the first implant in my head. And then, I mean, my mom had met my stepfather some point after the divorce with my father. And my stepfather was a naval officer engineer
Okay.
that worked for the Department of Defense.
Okay, all right. Bingo. Yeah.
So this
Well, yes.
ties in there somewhere that I mean, my stepfather was on board with this.
100%. Yeah.
And so, anyways, my stepfather was an alcoholic, and my mom didn't just marry him right off the bat. My mother had a gambling addiction.
Good.
I understand that my birth, basically my father was a high roller at the horse track, and my mother was addicted to the horse track.
Okay.
And so my birth came out of that.
Okay.
And then after she divorced him, she took me to Las Vegas, and I grew up in casino daycares. I was there like till about 4. I think when my mom actually married my stepfather, I was probably close to 5 by then. But while we were in Vegas, I wrote you this whole story about how she tried to throw me off the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
Now, have you ever seen a couple of parents walking in the park? They'll stand on either side of the child, and they'll take the child by the hand, and they'll just kind of swing the child
in the air?
between them.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Like they're walking and they lift you up by your 2 hands.
Yes.
And you go wee up in the air.
Okay.
And then,
yeah.
then you land on the ground, and then, they swing you up and down. Well, I guess my mom had did that to me before, playfully, but this time we were at the Grand Canyon. So the way this goes, I was in the casino daycare. I was at the Gold Coast, and I was watching Labyrinth in the casino daycare, and I had just made me a little Raphael Ninja Turtles mask out of a paper plate and an elastic cord. And after my mom did her gambling, she would come to pick me up, and she would take me and feed me a clown sundae. I remember the clown sundae. It was ice cream with whipped cream and 2 cherries for clown I think it was like a clown nose and eyeballs. It was a sundae. It looked like a clown's face.
Okay.
And as I was eating my little clown sundae, my grandmother arrived, and then they took me in the car, and we drove to the top of the Grand Canyon. And my mother found this nice steep little cliff, and it was all covered with dirt and rocks. It was like a sliding off of the cliff. And my mom got out of the car, so did my grandmother, and my mom said, "Let's go play, Chris." She took me by the hand, and as I was explaining about the, taking your kid by the hand and swinging them along sort of thing, she took me by the hand, saying, "Let's go play," and swung me and threw me towards the edge of the cliff. And so I go flying through the air, and I roll, and I hit the cliff on my stomach, and I'm sliding off the cliff, and I'm trying to grab onto something, and I do slide off the cliff as far as my like my waistline goes. And so I'm sitting there, just barely hanging on to this cliff. And I look down, and I see the backpackers at the bottom of the cliff floor. They're the size of ants that I think to myself. And I look at my mother and grandmother, and I'm saying, help me, help me. My grandmother has a sneer on her face, like bitter beer face. My mother has her mouth open, like, as if she couldn't believe that I was still hanging there. And I'm saying, help me, Mommy, help me. And they do nothing. They look like a stern decorum. I'm looking down at the floor of the cliff, and I'm thinking to myself that, I don't want to go down there. And then I hear the V2K voice to skull tell me to go down there. And, I disregarded it, knowing that, I knew I didn't want to go down there. I just knew that, well, if I went down there, it couldn't possibly be good. So, I found enough strength and leverage to grab my right hand on a rock that had, like, rolled down off of the cliff above the cliff that I was on, because, that was something that, there was a lot of rocks that had rolled down there.
Yeah.
And it was just barely heavy enough for me to grab onto, and it slid against the cliff. As I grabbed on it, it slid towards the end of the cliff as I was holding on to it. But that was enough that I could get my right knee back over the edge of the cliff, and then, with my right knee over the cliff, I got my left knee over the cliff, and I climbed back over the cliff, and I ran into the car, got in the car, and put my Raphael mask on. I was scared, and no one said anything for the rest of the ride after that. But so my mother decides to marry my stepfather, and we moved back to California to a place called Escondido, into a townhouse, and I was living there, and the abductions continued, the installations of implant systems and medical experiments.
Related to the abductions?
Yes.
Okay.
The purpose of the abduction is to, do any number of things to me, which involves implant installations, battery swapping, upgrading of implants.
So
the implants, the abductions. My first abduction when I was 2 years old.
Okay.
And I knew I was taken. But your mind is blank slated. I mean, there are ways of knowing things have happened to you. It's not like in your direct memory. Memory can be erased,
but there's always little essences and unexplained injuries. I mean, there's a lot of clues. Yeah.
There's damage done, and your mind just isn't right. Your mind feels like
correct.
What happened to me?
Right.
Your mind has been erased, and you're questioning.
Right. Yes.
Where have I been? What has been done to me?
Yes.
Your mind is still like.
Correct.
Well, when the chip was put in my forehead at 2, I was in California, and
good.
I was taken and returned knowing that I had been gone and that something had happened to me, and that there was a scar on my forehead that I found afterwards.
Yes.
And that, something had happened to me.
Yeah.
But I just the thing about when you're returned, when you're taken, I mean, there's the bright white light of it, and
Yeah.
however your mind might have been erased to hide whatever they did to you, you're still coming back through bright white light. You experience being returned.
Now,
And
are
in your
you,
conscience when it happens, you know it happened.
so you're physically transported, physically teleported from your bedroom,
Well, I mean, it could be anywhere.
wherever you were.
It could have been. It can be the playground. It could be in the middle of the street. It
Right.
could be the bed at night, and quite often it is the bed at night. They like doing it that way because if they just send you back asleep back to your bed, then then you might not realize it even happened. But
Can you explain an incident where it would have happened in a waking daylight time? Would that mean that you they manipulated time? Were you like frozen and then returned? Was there any loss of time? Did your body go limp? Anything like that?
I've never noticed the loss of time, even if there had been. I mean,
Okay.
when you come back, you're disorientated, and you don't necessarily grasp how much time has been gone.
Right. Probably. Yeah.
The actual, I mean, there have been times where I have been taken, and I know that I had been gone for an extensive length of time, and you can be sent back through time. I mean, and I know that that's the going to be very bizarre for people to try to understand.
No, not for the crowd that listens to me. No.
There's two types of teleportation that happen to me.
Okay.
There's the teleportation that takes me, and if I have been gone for a significant amount of time taken, there's the kind of teleportation back through time, which means that I'm in two places at once. Because when I return, let's say I've been gone for several hours or several days, I've been gone for lengths of time where it's like my body has changed. I've been gone long enough to lose or gain weight.
Wow.
Yeah, and when I'm returned, I'm returned through a different kind of teleportation. It's a bluish white light.
Okay.
Teleportation through time. It's like
Okay.
I come back through a wormhole of light.
Yes.
Bluish white light back through time to the point where I was abducted to even be able to see like the white light that took me.
Okay.
As I'm like fading out.
Very good. Thanks for that explanation, Chris. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that and resonate with it. I know I did.
I was my first teleportation was the implant in my forehead. After we get back to California, my mom marries my stepfather, and then the abductions start happening again.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that I was taken. I was not quite asleep, but getting ready for bed. I just like brushed my teeth,
Mm-hmm.
and I was taken. I knew I had been taken. I think that I was just I hadn't been in school for very long. I noticed I felt the way I had felt, like that my mind wasn't right. I knew something had happened to me.
Right.
I'm looking in the mirror, and I just like taking my shower. I was like brushing my teeth and getting ready for bed, and I noticed the scar on my left side rib cage.
Okay.
That there was a scar there. Now, I didn't put it all together, but there was a scar there. Some sort of implant systems had been put into my respiratory system is what I was assuming.
Right.
I didn't really know so much as to what was going on.
Of course, you were 5, right? I mean, that's not very young, not very old.
At that time, yeah. It was between 4, like 5 when I noticed that. By the time I was like 6, and it's a program like everything that happens to you needs to have an explanation put into your head to explain it.
Yes.
So, like, I probably had some of the implants, like the wires going into my head by then. I don't know. Maybe I was only on satellite D2K at that point. I'm not sure at exactly what point the wires got into my brain.
Okay.
I'm guessing it was sometime in early childhood because, like, my brain is, like, squished down from the wires, like, in my skull. It's like, my brain had to grow around these wires in my head that, compacted my brain in my head. And,
right.
So, one day I'm on the playground in school.
Yeah.
And I was trying to explain that, everything has to have some sort of story. I mean, you can't just accept the truth and know what the truth is and speak it.
Of course not.
So your mind is programmed.
Right.
So I'm on the playground and, like, I was teleported, and like they send you back in a way, like, so it was like as if I had slipped and fell and like did the splits, and like that was like the image in my mind, like I was being told that, oh, I did the splits and that's why I have this pain in my groin.
Right.
And so that was when they started cutting into my Alcock's canal and stabbing into my groin and putting implants and wires into my groin and into my pelvis and waist functions, male reproductive functions, bladder, all that stuff. And so as I grew, I just got more and more neuromodulation implant systems. I must have had wires in my head by that point. And this just continued. I don't want to jump all the way to like the ones that I think went into my pancreas, and implants were going into my pelvis at that point.
Yeah.
And I was like controlled and walked into situations of harm, like I was walked into this kid pulling back a tetherball pole that hit me in the head one time, and then another time I'm like playing basketball on a playground, and there's like a tractor beam kind of technology that it can just like pick you up and drop you on your head, and all you can say is somehow you had an accident, like, and that happened to me later in life on a bicycle too.
Wow.
But It happened another time. I was at Fear Farm. I was, just like right outside of my vehicle in the parking lot, and I, locked my car door, and I'm watching myself like levitate off the ground. I was,
Wow.
that was an insane experience where I was, lifted up off the ground, and I just remember that I was like 4 feet off the ground, and then I was back. So I believe I was taken, and
Yep.
The way they can arrange accidents accidentally on purpose sort of thing to happen to you, to explain what they did to you, like in an abduction.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to think, how like, I mean, my childhood, I guess I can move into like, the abuse of my childhood for the most part,
And you had no brothers or sisters there to help you or talk to or anything. Is that right?
No, I had a Mexican stepfather that called me a red-headed stepchild, retarded bitch boy, and kept me locked in a bedroom.
Wow.
I was kept locked in a bedroom with nothing but some Ninja Turtles. So when I was a child, I took up art because I was never allowed out of my bedroom, and I was, my stepfather got the newspaper, so I would draw all of the comic book characters from the newspaper funny section in my room alone by myself.
Really? They just left you in your room by yourself, locked in your room, day in, day out?
Well, when I started school, a year late because of my mother's gambling addiction.
Oh, okay.
So, my stepfather taught me the ABCs by giving me 26 ass beatings.
Wow. So you were like you were not loved, and you were experimented on, and it's horrible, Chris. I just want to say how horrible that was, and that
My mother had made a full cooperative decision to make me a medical experiment.
Right.
My mother was not, some clueless fool.
No.
I don't want you to have any idea that she was. It
No.
seems like you're a little confused to this point. She went into children's surgery.
Yeah.
And I was a child that got butchered by surgery and stuffed with implants.
Right.
There's no question that my mother is responsible for this.
Oh, I don't question it either. I mean, your mother she sounds like a monster. I agree.
It was Army Signal Corps. My mom decides to be a children's surgical nurse, and I have implant systems that receive command and alter my body and send signal back and forth via the communications grid. There's no question this is going to hopefully lead to my freedom, but if it does anything at all, it'll, perhaps help others understand what the hell is happening to them.
Well, correct.
Get a chance to know who my enemies were.
That's right.
Confront them or face them.
That's right.
Never had anything except death at all angles my entire life.
Right. So you know what? I'm going to congratulate you right now that you have come this far. You figured it out, and that your strength is what really comes through. Plus your intelligence.
Yeah, I was intelligent.
Yeah.
I could have been intelligent. That's why I got a head full of wires to cook my brain, because of how intelligent I was.
Yeah, they love that.
I was intelligent, and I had a bright future. I had a debt-free house that was $700,000 of college trust fund, CDs, stocks, a family that was going to put me through college. I had a bright future, everything going for me. That's why I ended up with wires in my head and every part of my body, every biological bodily and mental function had to have a wire in it, so I couldn't control it for myself.
So,
That's what intelligence gets you.
did your, yeah.
I want to say about life is, if you're anything but a stupid, dumb, ugly, worthless fuck, this is what happens to you in life. Because you're not allowed to, just live to your potential.
No, you're correct.
Carry on the legacy of your ancestors.
I agree.
You're not allowed to have an identity. You're not allowed to know who you are. You're
Right.
not allowed to continue to carry the generational torch forward
Right.
into the future. You got to go into a Holocaust.
It is genocide.
When I first started school, I started late because my mother's gambling addiction.
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Right.
It started a year late. And so my stepfather gave me 26 beatings to teach me the ABCs. After I got those 26 beatings, I got hooked on phonics, and I got some child books, and every time I stuttered on a word, I got an ass beating, and I got told how to say the word.
Jeez, wow.
So I got to the point where I was reading a book. If I didn't know the word, I made up my own word, because he wasn't sitting there reading the book. He didn't know what the words in the book was. So if I didn't know the word, I would just, skip over it and say some other word so I could avoid the ass beating. And,
right.
That's how I learned my ABCs and, learned how to read. And so then I could start school. Now, by the time I was in first grade, I was actually doing pretty well. And my teacher wanted to advance me to second grade, trying to catch me up to where I was supposed to be in school.
Okay, good.
And put me in the advanced class. I was doing all right. And I was going to go ahead and jump grades, but my mom took me out of that school, and we moved somewhere else in California. So, like my childhood, I wasn't allowed to watch cartoons like a normal kid. I was kept locked in my room. If I came out of my room, I got an ass beating. I was a retarded bitch boy. I was to stay out of the sight of my mother and my stepfather. My mother wanted to do her racing form handicaps. About the only time I ever spent with my mother at all was being told to shut up, either in Caliente, the dog track, in Tijuana, Mexico. Later on, it was some satellite wagering thing in Reynosa, Mexico. But that was when we got to Texas. So, I never got to talk to my mother at all. She never said anything good to me at all. She just, told me to shut up.
What a terrible person. That's awful.
And right. So, basically my stepfather was there for that. Mother didn't have any involvement in my life at all, unless, gambling, she had to go to Mexico to go to the dog track or whatever, and so, that was the only time I was ever in my mother's company. As long as she was with my stepfather, my mother never talked to me. She never said anything to me. I would tell her, I love you, Mommy. I was trying to, get her to, love me because this Mexican was beating me and hurting me all the time. But, she wouldn't love me. And she never said that she loved me back or anything like that. She just left me to the Mexican to be abused.
I'm so sorry, Chris. Really.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to tell the story. I don't need condolences. So,
All right.
I'm never allowed out of the room. My stepfather was a martial artist.
Mm.
He liked to twist my arms in different ways behind my back. He knew, like, you know, takedowns. He could put me on the floor. He practiced all his pressure points out on me. You know, I always had, like, a finger under my arm, in my neck, in my, you know, torso, some, or, like, underneath my kneecap or whatever, like, you know, I got to learn about pressure points by being hurt by my martial artist stepfather.
Mm.
And so he did those kinds of things to me. As far as, you know, I never had any clothes, like, for school. I was given 3 extra large t-shirts when I was a boy for school. And I was given a girl's backpack. My mother would tell me, you know, I was too much like my father. I should have been a girl.
Wow.
There were times where she made me put on makeup and shit like that. Made me, like, go outside so I could be humiliated in front of the other kids. They could laugh, her and my stepfather.
Okay. Okay.
So I wasn't, like, allowed to eat food like my mother and stepfather. I was given 3 extra large t-shirts to wear my whole damn life by my mother and stepfather that I was to grow into.
Jeez. God.
Because I was force-fed like a hog, like wires were stuffed into my respiratory system and heart and lungs, and I was supposed to just grow into this heifer for medical experiments that my mother was cooperating with, and wear these 3 baggy t-shirts like dresses all the damn time that I was going to grow into, as my mother put it, while I was beat every night. See, I wasn't fed right. I was, you know, I had my little meals at school, because you go to school, if you get to school early enough, they feed you breakfast. If you know, then you get lunch at school. And dinner, for me, consisted of eating hot dogs and macaroni and cheese together. And I was forced to eat 3 plates full. I mean, I didn't want to eat 3 plates of macaroni and cheese and hot dogs every night, but I was forced to eat 3 plates of macaroni and cheese and hot dogs every night.
God. Wow, man. That's terrible.
And I was beat by my stepfather with violence, and had my arms twisted, had pressure points applied, and my face was put into a plate full of macaroni and cheese and hot dogs every night, and I had to sit there for hours at that table eating 3 plates, and I was not allowed to leave that table until I ate 3 plates of macaroni and cheese and hot dogs every fucking night.
Oh, God. Sorry, Chris. You know, this is what I love about you, your passion.
I would like you not to laugh right now, because I'm not making a joke.
I know, but it's triggering me. It's horrible. I know, but
I'm trying to tell you how I was turned into a fattened calf.
yes, I understand. Yeah, I know.
For medical experiments.
I'm sorry. I know. I have to apologize. I'm sorry. I'm just triggered, like, by all this stuff.
They want to stick wires in your heart, your lungs, and your every fucking thing. And they want to turn you into a fattened calf and collect biometric statistical data. This is a government experiment. This is child abuse from my mother and stepfather. I was fucking tortured and forced to eat like a fucking I was 15. This isn't a joke. This is what my fucking childhood was. It needs to be said. So there's something to fucking counteract the goddamn lies of the country that fucking made it happen to me. That caused my fucking mother a wonderful fucking contribution to society. Because she fucking did this to me for this country.
Okay.
I was kept in a cell in my bedroom. I was not allowed to go out and play with kids outside and be a normal fucking kid. Anytime I wasn't in school, in my baggy ass fucking t-shirts, with some fucking girl backpack my mom gave me to take to school, so I could be humiliated with a fucking girl's backpack and some fucked up clothes. I looked like a fucking humiliation at school every fucking day. I couldn't just have friends or fit in. I had to be fucking humiliated constantly. I was constantly humiliated. I was constantly called a fucking retard, retarded bitch boy, that ought to be a fucking girl, and force-fed like a hog, pig slop, every night before bed.
Okay. Where do you want to go from here?
I'm trying to think. And, so I never had anything but a Ninja Turtle in a bedroom and some funny papers from the newspaper that I would draw in my bedroom by myself. I had the wires in my head rearranging my brain functions. Even then, like, this artificial intelligence is all about, teaching computers to talk to you and be some friend, girlfriend, lover, whatever that you can talk to. So, I mean, at that point in my childhood, it was about, like, Ninja Turtles, fighting each other in my head, like little fucking, things like that. My cat sees that I'm upset and keeps trying to come over to me.
Okay, so Chris, right now we're almost at the hour, and that's all I've got for today. But I think we've done.
You can only record for an hour. The wires, like the implants in my head, would always make me feel stupid and retarded. Like I would be insulted and put down by my mother and stepfather, and they would make me feel as if I was retarded in my head.
Yeah.
The wires, although I did good in school and everything, I would be forced to feel as if I was retarded. And we didn't keep living in California either. We ended up moving to Arkansas for like 6 months, and then to Brownsville, Texas. And I saw the craft for the first time after we moved to like Mission, Texas. Now the childhood abuse, with my mother and stepfather went on. I was always told horrible things. Like I had stated, what was being done to my head to make me feel as if I was, inadequate. And so in Mission, Texas, like moved to Brownsville, lived there for a while. Moved to Mission, Texas, where my stepfather eventually divorced my mother. I was getting older, I was finally allowed to play like Super Mario on Super Nintendo. At that point, I didn't have to. I think, at a certain point when I was like 10 or something, my stepfather threw out my Ninja Turtles and allowed me to have a video game console.
Okay.
So that was like, it was like when Game Boy came out. I got a Game Boy. And,
Okay.
Super Nintendo had this little thing that I could plug the Game Boy game into and play my Game Boy games on the Super Nintendo. So I had that and like a few games for Super Nintendo or whatever, like, and that was an improvement, I guess, a little bit. But I mean, the abuse, like, it was ridiculous how long I had nothing but a freaking Ninja Turtle to play with, locked in a room by myself.
Yeah.
So I can say, I mean, they had to do certain things like, so, they couldn't have me like likely going around, not having anything to do but, be in a room with a Ninja Turtle or telling people things like that. So, the kind of things that could have been construed as, a normal parent was just more like, keeping my mouth shut. So I didn't say anything that brought negative attention to them. But the first time I saw the military abduction craft was in the backyard of Mission, Texas. And I know I'm leaving a lot out of the story, just trying to progress it along for you. But
okay.
I saw it there. I thought it was a star. I thought it was a North Star. I looked at the Orion constellation. I was like, there's the North Star. I'm looking at this. It's getting brighter. It's getting brighter. It's getting closer. It's getting closer to me. It stops. It hovers over me. And, I'm just sitting there locked, looking at it, and, it sat there for a couple minutes or so, looking at me. I don't know if it took me or not. I don't think it took me. I think it was probably planning on it, but, it realized that, I was right outside there looking at it. And it started after sitting in one position in the sky, hovering for a couple of minutes. Just started moving off to the right before streaking in a blue-white lightning streak across the sky like Star Trek. And my stepfather had watched Next Generation Star Trek, and I go in there and I tell my mom, like, I just saw this UFO and it shot across the sky like Star Trek. And she didn't look too surprised. She just kind of gave me like a look, like, like she couldn't, sort of, not like she couldn't believe that I said it, but like she was kind of stunned that I said it, like, and she didn't respond. She just went about her business and didn't say anything back to me about it. My stepfather, divorces my mom there in Mission, Texas, because it's a good place to divorce people.
Yeah.
If you're a man getting a divorce in Texas.
Okay.
So that was part of my stepfather's plan. And then my mother meets some guy online. My stepfather met some lady online, so my mom does the same. I had about 6 good months living in Washington with a guy who gave me a wolf dog, let me play video games, watch movies and stuff out in the woods, went to school. They had a weight room there. I worked out. I was being healthy and shape. The problem with my mother is, this is something that I wanted to touch on, because, part of the abuse of my mother, she did this to all the men in all her relationships. And she plays this battered woman who gets into bad relationships, like, one of those women that, goes to those, like, battered women places. She plays this little role, this act that she plays out.
Mm-hmm.
The government lets her play it out and tell the story as if it was this, but, or if it was that. But the thing with my mother is, my mother is very controlling. My mother tells the story, as if she's the victim. Like, she does it for a living. She's manipulative RN. She's worked for the government in healthcare alongside cops her whole life, and she knows how to tell a story. I mean, this is what the healthcare system does to targeted individuals.
Right.
It's what she's done to, all the men in her life, and what she's done to my life. She knows how to tell the tale and put blame on people she hurts. And, police write their narrative stories that way. My mother is just like a cop, just like, she works mental health now.
Mm.
And,
yeah.
I'm just like, you got me all messed up. You want me to, like, not say anything, I feel like. But,
oh no, Chris, it's just that there's so much to get out, and it's just not all going to fit in an hour. So I just thought we could break it up in a couple days.
Well, if you just please make the exception, I'm like.
Okay then. All right, let's go. Because I'm here. I'm here.
My mother is just manipulative, and she knows how to tell the story, and she is violent, she is hostile. The divorce with my stepfather, I mean, I think my stepfather just got to the point where, the things my mother wanted him to do to me for her were just too much.
Yeah.
Like.
Quite possibly, yeah.
It was just, I was growing up. I was, gonna, like, become an adolescent boy soon. And, my mom wanted him to, like, take showers with me so I could save on the water bill and all the things my mother wanted for my life to be and not be. And, he was tired of it. My mom would break things. My mom would throw things all over the house. My stepfather had knickknacks, collectibles that she would break. She would throw pans, she would mess up the house, all sorts of ways. And she was just a violent woman that threw stuff everywhere, broke things all the time, yelled and screamed all the time. And, and then she could always tell this story as if she was the battered woman that was abused, and everyone would just believe her story because she, like, made this pact with Satan to fucking kill me and my family and kill everyone else with the healthcare system for the government. She's a mental health nurse now, and so she started by butchering us up with surgery. She started a career stuffing us with implants, me and all targeted individuals. She's the perpetrator. And, now she kills us with drugs in the mental health wards, and that's what she's been doing for a long time.
And she was into witchcraft, too, right?
Yeah, she was into the witchcraft thing, and, that's part of the story that I'm coming up on as well. And, like, aside from making me take showers with my stepfather, she would do weird things, aside from, like, making me dress like a girl or put on makeup when I was a real little kid. And always telling me that I'm too much like my father, that me, my family, and Ray.
Whoa. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, something. Okay, sorry. I lost you there for a second. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I don't know what happened. All right. Maybe you're back. Okay, so everything's good. Okay, carry on.
Me, my father, and race, we're all mobster criminal pieces of shit. We're all mentally insane. We're all crazy. We all need to be locked away and medicated and everything. Those are the sort of things my mom told me my whole life. I mean, she didn't tell me, pretty much anything about me until like fourth grade, where I finally find out my name isn't Christopher Search, that it's Christopher Bertolino. And,
Huh.
my grandfather, I guess, was trying to know me as a child, and my grandparents and father did keep trying to track us down and know who I was. And I was beat by my stepfather and told that I was never allowed to mention, knowing my family ever.
Wow.
I wasn't even allowed to know my last name, like I said, until my teacher told me what it was. And then I was, told that I should change it to Rodriguez and be adopted by my stepfather, which, was not a dude that I felt, that
Right.
I wasn't loved by or nothing like that. I was a retarded bitch boy. Why was I gonna do something like that? So, but it was just part of my mom and my government trying to keep me from living the life I was destined to live and be entitled to my birthright, my inheritance, and everything that belonged to me.
Right. True. And, I agree.
So my mom was violent, and she broke things, and she did weird shit to me, like hold me down and spit on my forehead after my shower with my stepfather and singing Itsy Bitsy Spider of the water spout. And like you had mentioned, the witchcraft thing that all came later. But like when I found her witchcraft books, and she moved to Washington, and like I said, I was treated well by the guy she was with in Washington for like 6 months. Life was actually pretty good. I went to school. I was making friends.
Wow.
And I was moved around constantly, like my whole life, because my whole life, my father's side of the family was trying to find me and know me. My mom just wouldn't let me have that. I was only there to be abused in all these ways as a lab animal. With her cooperation, she would, do all the things that damaged my health and my mental health that wires in my head and body could extrapolate data from, so I could be the government's lab rat in the way that the government wanted me to be, because I was this experiment to be turned into all these things that they wanted to do and say about me and pretend as if I never had a family or a life or property or a trust fund or a debt-free house or a future, like as if I was just some guy who crawled out from under a rock yesterday.
So this, pardon me, but this inheritance was from your father's side?
Yeah, I was pretty rich from my father's side of the family. Like, my mom was like a Terminator, just there to destroy me and my father's family for and with this government for her medical career and her life. And
yes,
yeah, my mom never gave me anything except a bad name, a bad health, bad mental health, and implants, and jail, and violence. My mother never gave me a thing that wasn't to take from my life.
Yes.
My mother never did anything but hurt me and lie. Because the government willed it. Because the government needs mothers like my mother to sacrifice their children and prove that they can kill everyone with the healthcare system and And that's what the government needs to do implants to people. They need mothers that kill their children to work in hospitals and kill everybody else's children, families, and lives.
Do you have any relationship with your mother now?
You know,
When was the last time you spoke to her?
does it make any difference?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm thinking the audience would probably want to know. I would want to. I'm curious. Like, what is your relationship now? Have you like written her letters telling her how horrible she is? Have you screamed at her? Have you I mean, I don't know.
You think I have a relationship with my mother? Do you really?
I don't know. That's why I'm
No,
asking.
I don't have a relationship with my mother.
Okay.
The relationship with my mother is her sending me to jail and making police reports that get me sent to jail. And everything that I'm telling you the story of. This is the relationship of me with my mother that I'm telling now.
Right. But now that you're an adult.
I'm telling the relationship with me and my mother. There's just, if you let me tell it, I'm telling it.
Okay, go on. Sorry, I just thought I'd ask. Go on.
I mean, if I'm trying to get there from start to today. That was like the whole point of me wanting to do this interview, to get my story out there in a form so my story could be heard by somebody at least.
It's being done. We're doing it. It's good. So I know that we have probably another 2 or 3 hours to go.
Probably not, but some way I need to have my story heard so something other than the lies of my mother in this country can be spoken about what they've done to me.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. That's why we're doing it. Okay, so carry on.
All there is what my mother and country have done to me and said of me, and my voice has been silenced my whole life, and I have been blamed, and I have been locked away, and I have been robbed, and I have been raped and destroyed, and I've had every defective, disgusting, filthy thing that could be said of a man said of me, and I ain't never been anything but a victim that's been hurt, that's been tortured, that can't be treated like a human being anywhere by anyone because of the power of the lies of my mother and this country that hurt me together.
Amen. I hear you. It's true. I believe you, and I know it's true. This is the exact frickin' program, and that's why I wanted you to tell your story.
What Satan is you get hurt, and you're whatever they did to you. I am what's been done to me. Everything they've done to me, they said that I am. And that's how they work.
Exactly, you're right.
And everything that they're going to do to me, they will say that I am.
Yep. That's it.
It's all part of an elaborate plan. It's just a story that they write out for you to live from birth, in my case. And that's what it is. So I was living good in Washington. Guy gave me a wolf dog. My mom wouldn't let me keep it. The guy wouldn't hurt me for my mother.
All right.
I was having a healthy, functional, normal childhood. He wouldn't hurt me for my mother. My stepfather got to the point where he wasn't going to hurt me for my mother anymore.
Yeah.
He didn't want to have this relationship any longer.
Yeah.
And since he was married, he had to find a good way out of it, and that was by buying a house in Texas and getting divorced there.
Okay, yeah.
He was tired of having his things broken. He was tired of the problems that my mother made. So we spent like 6 months in Washington, and then she moved to Casa Grande, Arizona, in an apartment complex. We started going to school there, and this is a bad place, as far as like, being someone thought of as a white person, by Hispanics or whatever, who wear my racial ethnicity and understand the word gringo because it's a Latin-derived language from Italy that they learned from conquistador Inquisition, but nonetheless, all the things that they think, they're not too bright about a person.
Okay, so you're in Arizona. Pick it up.
In Casa Grande, and my mom started locking me out of the house. That's when
Wow.
she started getting me arrested.
Wow.
She didn't have any man that could help her hurt me anymore. No man would do the things that mother needed to do to me for the government. No one was going to help her beat me and hurt me and torture me anymore.
God.
So mother started locking me out of the house.
How old were you?
Me and run away. Oh, I was probably approaching 12.
Okay.
So
too young. Yeah.
I think I didn't quite start 7th grade yet.
Okay.
I was like maybe just starting 7th grade. Actually,
Okay.
I was in like 6th grade until Mission, Texas. I remember my 6th grade teacher was Mr. Hudacek, and he was the chess club teacher. So in Mission, Texas was 6th grade, and I was like 7th grade by then. I was in junior high, I suppose, at that point. And so I was like 7th grade.
Locking you out of the house. So where was
she started locking me out of the house, and I found out what Durango detention facility was, I started going to jail, and I started going to school in jail, and, they put me back there, my mom would lock me out of the house so she could call me and run away and say I was a bad child delinquent kid.
Wow.
And we only lived in Casa Grande for 6 months, so she only got to send me to jail one time in Casa Grande before she bought her house in Phoenix, Arizona, where she had lived ever since. And that's where I finished 7th grade and started 8th grade.
Okay.
Now, I was, 12 years old, going on, 13 or whatever, and started going to school at Paseo Hills, and my mom kept doing what she was doing. She would lock me out of the house. My mom would take me to, a store, and, she'd tell me, wait right here, she'd be right back, and she would ditch me. My mom started taking me out places to ditch me.
Wow.
One time she took me all the way to, it was Van Buren, it was the El Rancho. It's this little Mexican market that's in the worst part of town in downtown Phoenix, and she left me there. And I mean, one time she had left me at Happy Valley. I climbed over the mountain where she lived at Deer Valley, and I got back to where her house was. Another time she left me at El Rancho, and, I asked directions about how to get to Deer Valley, and I took the bus back to, where the house was.
Wow.
But my mom started locking me out regularly, and this is there's so many stories I could tell about all the times she got me arrested, but this is about the time my mom started practicing the Wicca witchcraft.
Okay.
That I noticed.
Yes.
That she was practicing witnessing this because I started finding these Wicca books around the house, and I found my mom watching bestiality porn of horses and dogs.
Ew.
My mom would do the breaking things, just like she did with my stepfather and the man in Washington. But they were my things now, you know, things that I had earned, you know, for myself.
Right.
Or other people had given me or whatever, mostly like my Nintendo games, and you know, like I would work, you know, yard work and stuff for money for people to have things like you know, video games or whatever that I could play, and you know, so I had some stuff that I had earned for myself at that point. And my mom would break them, and she would call them in, you know, domestic violence, criminal damage charges. She would break my things. She would assault me, and yes, she was walking around naked constantly. And she would always say, you know, if you don't like it, you can, you know, get out of my house, Chris. And it was just me and my mother was always naked, and I was, you know, becoming an adolescent. I was starting to, you know, want to like girls and stuff, and I had to see my mother naked all the time.
Yeah.
And,
creepy weird.
That was something very psychologically, you know, a problem for me. And, you know, the only thing I could do is get out of the house and be locked out of the house, not be able to go to school and be truant from school and be called in runaway. And then, you know, whenever I did try to go back, you know, because I wanted to live and have a life and go to school, they would assault me, break my things, call me a runaway criminal damage domestic violence case, and I had those cases put out on my name by my mother.
Yeah. Wow.
The wire is kind of like messing up my memory. Please don't interrupt me. I'm trying to keep on track of the story.
Okay.
Let's see. She started buying me malt liquor and Marlboro Reds to like make me like leave the house, and like, you know, then I could go and take the beer and cigarettes and hang out with the other kids.
Okay.
Let's see. I mean, there was one time that she, my Rottweiler, she would always be naked, and she would have the bathroom door open naked, and my Rottweiler went in there, and I think she was having oral sex with the dog when it bit her. And she tried to kill the dog. I took the dog down the street, and I went to jail for that. It was just a series of me being assaulted, having my things broke by my mother, going to jail, having to be homeless. Jeez. She wouldn't buy me clothes for school. She wouldn't feed me.
Jeez.
If she fed me at all, it was after I starved all day, and it was always a Wendy's triple stack burger, like right before bed. And like she just was obsessed with having me being fat, and then be arrested. I wanted to go to school. I did well at school. I don't know if you're familiar with the Ames test, but I took the Ames test in 8th grade, and however, I was locked outside and had to be homeless. I missed a lot of school, and the way the story was told, that I was just a juvenile delinquent that didn't want to go to school, but I took the Ames test in 8th grade, and I missed one question. It was a mathematics question. I got a perfect score on the reading comprehension Ames test, and I missed like one mathematics question. and I was one question away from having a perfect score on the Ames test. So, I mean, I did pay attention in school, and I wanted to go to school. I wanted to be a normal kid, but, you know, because my mother was allowed to abuse me under the authority of the government, the story was told that I was a delinquent kid that you know, didn't want to go to school, that didn't want to mind my mother, when it was really that I wasn't being fed or clothed, and my mother was practicing witchcraft and watching bestiality porn, and you know, she was just always trying to be naked with me at an age that I was trying to, you know, like be normal and like girls, you know, for the first time. And you know, so and all she would say, you know, I'd be like trying to watch TV in the living room. My mother would just come in the living room, sit down on the couch naked, and you know, take the control from me or whatever. Like, you know, like, and I just
Creepy.
wanted her to wear clothes, and I didn't want to be insulted. I kept asking her about my father, and you know, if I could go know them, I wanted to go live with my father. And that was another reason she would start breaking my things and assaulting me, and she would chase me out of the house, and she would make the criminal damage and the domestic violence reports. She would whip herself with cords and scratch her own arms and say that I had done that to her, to the cops. But, you know, if it wasn't, you know, that I wanted food or clothes, you know, she always said, "This is the food you like, Chris." And, you know, she never fed me anything but junk food, from the burger joint or a pizza or whatever, like, you know, and she would eat her health food from Sprouts and all that. You know, she ate nothing but the most expensive health food, and she would feed me like a pig and tell me this is the food that I like, and if I, you know, that I should be grateful, like the starving kids in Africa that wouldn't complain, and I could always eat the dog food, and if I tried to eat like a piece of fruit or any of her food, I would be assaulted, have my things broken, be chased out of the house, police reports would be made on me, and there's this whole narrative story written about me my whole life, and I was just this abused victim, that I was the child from hell. And so this went on, you know, through 8th grade, and I did graduate, and I got into high school for like, you know, freshman year, but my mom and all the charges that she made against me, you know, all the various times, and it was always the same thing, and it was, you know, I kept wanting to have food, have clothes. I wanted to eat like a normal person. I wanted my mom to wear clothes. I wanted to know who I was, who my grandparents were, who my father was. I wanted to go know them. I wanted to go live with them. And she would always say that, you know, your father is a piece of crap. You know, it never did nothing. You know, all Italians are crazy. Sicilians the worst. You know, you're all crazy. You all need locked up. You're all nothing but mobsters. Your grandfather was a bookie for the mob. He pimped prostitutes. And you know, all my mom would say was that, and then she would assault me, and she'd break my things, and every time I, you know, wanted food, every time I wanted clothing, every time I wanted my mother to wear clothing, every time I wanted to know who I was and know my father and go live with them, I was assaulted, I was locked out of the house. And things were broken. They were my things. My mom would throw her pans around the house at me, things like that. You know, things like she threw a vacuum cleaner at me one time. You know, put a hole in the wall. You I was arrested, charged for that criminal damage. One time I was in my bedroom. I had put a lock on the door so I could stay away from her. She was trying to assault me. I locked the door. I went in the room. She took a sledgehammer, started bashing the lock on the door, on the doorknob to get in there so she could attack me. And all those things that my mother did and broke in the house, damaged the house, those are all charges that were made against me my whole life. And I had this story written. I lived nothing but abuse.
Yeah.
So they kept taking me, putting me in jail. I went to jail endless times. They would put me in a shelter group home. They put me on all these drugs. They told me I was defective, all this shit. And they would keep sending me back to my mother so that she could do that same thing to me again. They wouldn't let me know who my family was. They wouldn't let me go know my father or live with my grandparents. They wouldn't let me know myself or live my life or have my birthright. And at 15, I was put in this boot camp called Canyon State Academy. And I was there until I graduated back valedictorian of that high school. And
you were the valedictorian?
Yeah, I graduated valedictorian. I don't
Wow.
want to get all into that too much. It's just a part of the story, And after I graduated, they had to release me from that camp because, once I had graduated high school, there was really no way they could keep me in the camp anymore.
Yeah.
And so they once again sent me back to my mother's house.
Wow.
And, I met this girl. I met a couple of girls. And, of course, I had the wires in my dick. My dick wasn't allowed to work right. I met a really nice white girl. My dick wasn't allowed to work on. And then there was this Mexican chick that was hanging out with some friends at this place with me one time that tried to like me. And my mother didn't want to have any women like me. She just wanted, me to be exposed to her naked. She chased off everybody. She didn't really try to chase off the Mexican, but she did chase off the white girl. And, I ended up enrolling in the Phoenix Job Corps. But, the thing with my mom is she never really stopped making charges. I mean, I could be anywhere in the world, living my life, or trying to, because, I was well into the system, a targeted individual, full implants, and, my name was slandered since the day I was born, before I was born, all by my mother. She slandered my father's name to get custody of me.
Yes.
And slandered my name my whole life and did every terrible thing to me with impunity as part of the implant, medical experiments, data collection of the neuromodulation. I've been a guinea pig for the calibration of neuromodulation stimulation loops. The whole, technology of neuromodulation is because of my life and my family's lives destroyed by it. In order to put any of this stuff on the market for someone to willingly submit to having put in them, people and families like mine have to be killed and destroyed by the lies and the crimes of the government.
I know all about it, yeah.
Like mine that will tell the lies for them, and as a reward of helping them kill families like mine and killing her son and telling those lies, cooperating with them, she got to do it for a career. For a living.
Correct.
In
Yeah.
the healthcare system.
That's right.
She never stopped. I could be anywhere living my life, and there would be another criminal damage domestic violence case on my name, same old story. My mind was always being erased, and I was always being programmed to forget everything mommy had done to me and forgive mommy and love mommy. The machines in my head were always programming me and putting me back into her, presence, so they could, try to make their little story again. It's always writing the next chapter of the same old story. And even if I wasn't around her at all, she would always be making these police reports about me just to keep my life pinned down, so I would be out working somewhere and I get locked up, lose my house, apartment, everything I own, and turn into a bum where I have to start over with nothing but the underwear I was wearing when they took me, sort of thing, over again. One day I went to my mom's house, to say, hey, I met this Mormon chick, we're going to go out horseback riding, whatever. I only wanted to stay there overnight, and I told her, I got to wake up and leave early in the morning. She said, oh, it was all right and everything, so whatever. So I wake up at 6 in the morning like I told her that I was going to do. All I needed her to do was turn off the alarm and, let me out of the house so I could, get picked up by the Mormons and go horseback riding. I had just went archery shooting with the Mormons the day before, and I'm making some friends at the Mormon church, and we're gonna go do this stuff. And so when I go in there to tell her to turn off the alarm, she pulls her firearm out and says, I can't take this anymore, and proceeds to shoot me in the head. Naturally, with instinct, I saw her draw the firearm, and I leaped as she was firing it, and it missed my head by 6 inches to a foot, went into the wall.
God.
And before she could fire again, I took 2 zigzag leaps towards her and knocked the gun out of her head. And then I left the house, and I went and called the cops myself and said my mom had just, tried to shoot me. I reported it. Now, I didn't intend on sitting there and staying and waiting for the cops, telling the whole story, to see if they were going to, put me in jail for it or not. I just reported it on the phone, and, so I went to the gas station to go get picked up by the Mormon chick to go horseback riding, and the cops, GPS'd my phone to the gas station and arrested me there. And the story my mom told was that I attacked her and we wrestled for a gun. Or I attacked her and I don't even know exactly what the story was, but what ended up being told was that I had another domestic violence case.
Wow.
This one time, my mom had told me to run to Walgreens and gave me her card so I could, buy a couple of things or whatever. And instead of me going to Walgreens and picking a couple of things up, she called the police and told some story that I was stealing from her. And
wow.
So they found her card on me, and that turned into this huge court case.
Wow.
And I didn't even go to the store or make the charge on it, but she just gave it to me so she could make some report on me and
wow.
some story and have them find the card.
Oh, so foul. What a horrible woman.
My mom did all these things to sabotage my life and keep my entire life. I always had some charge, and I could never get an apartment anywhere. I could never get a job anywhere.
Right.
It's like I had to spend my whole life self-employed for myself and living in a motel, or some
Yeah.
month-to-month place in the worst neighborhood there was possible because no one else would give me a chance to live anywhere. And all those places that I could live, which was, Motel Hell or, the project month-to-month rental thing,
Hmm.
all I could do was get robbed, for anything that I worked for, which, pretty much I had to be an independent contractor, self-employed as a salesman, because
Yeah. Yeah.
if I didn't be an independent contractor and self-employed as a salesman, the only thing I could be was a bum, and that's why the government made up a bogus charge in order to send my license, steal my Cadillac, because unable to do anything at all with my life, I became a salesman. Like, I learned that if you apply at the call center, you can get a job there faster than they can do a background check. And if you go to the top of the sales board and you make a lot of sales, they'll let you work there for a while before they rob you and fire you for your, they rob you for your paycheck and fire you pretty much.
Yeah, it's notorious. Yeah, for if you're on a commission sales, yeah, so almost all companies will keep your commissions before on your way out the door. They won't pay you out. Yeah, that's notorious in sales.
Like there's one instance where I had sold over 30 sales that week, and it was a tier bracket system. And if you break 30 sales, your commission check, my commission check was supposed to be $2,800. And
Yeah.
because I had sold high level packages, they were like different levels of packages from silver, gold to platinum. And, if you had 10 sales that week, you got this tier. If you had 20, you had this tier. If you got 30, you had this tier. And your commission percentages went up each tier for the levels of sales that you made. And there was just one time where I had made so many sales that week, I was expecting a $2,800 paycheck, and they didn't pay me my paycheck. Some gay dude tried to come up on me and stand in my way on the elevator and say some try to get past me shit. Wouldn't move so I could leave the elevator. He kept saying try to get past me, so I straight armed him in his solar plexus and knocked him on his ass. And that was something my stepfather always did when he abused me. He always punched me in my solar plexus. So that's what I did to this guy. I just knocked him, with my palm of my hand flat. I didn't punch him or nothing. I just flat palmed him in his solar plexus, and he fell on his ass back in the wall. And so they kept my commission check, and they fired me. But they were already trying to intend to do that anyways, no doubt, because of my name. I just had this slandered name that my country and mother had done to me that I couldn't take anywhere. And my whole life I had been stalked. Anytime that it wasn't my mother putting me in jail, I'd just be sitting somewhere out in public. I wouldn't be realizing it when a police rolls up on me. I wasn't doing anything but having a cell phone, trying to ride a bus to some crap job, that I just had to do some minimum wage shit because I had to live in a dumpster with a slandered name.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't doing nothing but making an honest living, going to work, talking to people on a phone, and my phone would always bring the police to me to harass me and do all these problems to me. Twice I was set up on marijuana possessions because being an independent contractor, unable to work anything, and when you're an independent contractor petition circulator, that's a problem of its own because you're trying to pass laws that the government doesn't want you to pass, especially, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of projects like that, and most projects are like that for the most part. The government doesn't like petition circulators going around changing the system with petition boards. They want the laws and policies of the government to be something that they've made it, not have people like me making so many dollars a signature to change that. So I had problems. There's one time that one of the petitions was get Sheriff Joe out of office, and so I was assaulted by a sheriff deputy with the police standing there. Didn't do nothing about it, but I was set up twice on marijuana charges because I circulated a petition that was for legalization of marijuana, and I was just circulating a petition in a T-shirt that said reform of marijuana laws, and had a clipboard saying legalize marijuana, and a couple of chicks come out of the bar where I was collecting signatures and asked me for a ride home. I take them, to give them a ride. They dump weed in my car, and some police show up, and, say, oh, look at this weed that I found, and he pulled it out of his pocket or whatever. They scattered some broken up weed or something that was ground up just to have a smell in my car, so I guess he could probably show up and say, oh, look, there's this crumbled weed here on the carpet or something like that. But I never left the parking lot. The girls got out of the car just as fast as they got in it, and I got out to follow them because I just I didn't understand what the fuck happened until some bicycle cops rolled up and grabbed me, pulled my car keys out of my pocket, started tearing up my car, and said, oh, look at what we found. It happened another time when I was working as a retail sales manager selling blankets on a mobile vending business, and I was working for another guy, and some cop showed up, and they put some weed in the blanket thing, and showed up with the drug dog a few minutes later, and the cops said, oh, we heard that you were selling weed around here, and I just said that's some total fucking bullshit, because I was selling blankets hanging on a canopy, but they showed up literally 5 minutes after this dude that bought this Bob Marley blanket from me showed up, and found some weed, with their drug dog, and tried to stick this case on me again, but it didn't go through. I was like, this is just some bullshit. People are going out of their way to put cases on me, and I was only working in Yuma for that period of time. What it did do was cost me my job, that all that shit went down like that. Which was, just as much the point of anything was to, get me unemployed, because they needed me to be some worthless, homeless fucking person that they could call worthless, and I couldn't get no job any other way, other than being self-employed, because of everything they had done to me all those times before already. And it just went on. Anytime I was sitting at a bus stop, another time I'm sitting at a bus stop, I had just bought a beer, from the gas station, and I'm just simply sitting there with the beer next to me, waiting for the bus to come, and it was running every hour sort of thing, and I just kind of noticed that my whole life, anytime I sat somewhere for more than 20 minutes, cops were showing up, and if it wasn't a cop showing up, it was some weirdo person coming around me to talk about drugs my whole fucking life. It's been,
So
weirdo.
that's the cult, and that's the implants and whatever tipping off that they're doing, giving to the cult, right?
No, you're going out there. This is just the fact that I've been targeted by the system, and my name, has been put into the computer so many times, and that my name is in the system, because I'm supposed to be a victim. The FBI runs the computer grid for the computer for the cops, and me having a phone in my pocket.
Okay.
It's my
Right.
goddamn beacon
Yeah.
that says "fuck me."
Yeah.
That's what all this is about. It's just me not knowing about having implants, being a targeted individual, being stalked and preyed on by the police. I mean, the higher level of governments is what made me this lab animal, and the police is just doing their part in fucking over everyone's lives.
Correct.
Just like the healthcare system is doing their part,
Yeah.
stuffing implants in you, calling you a fucking nutcase and killing you with drugs and taking your house, your bank accounts, and your whole life, putting your family in a dumpster. And that's what they did to my father. They did everything that they're doing to me, called him a nutcase. They killed my grandparents off, and took on my property, and they made sure that they could have this all done before I reached 18 and could, get out of the child protective system and go find them at the house and claim what was mine.
Wow.
This is what they do. This time I'm sitting there with the beer at the bus stop. The cop rolls up, arrests me for a public intoxication charge. It's just that my name's in the system. It says "fuck me," and I have a cell phone in my pocket. The cops ain't tracking my neurostimulator. I don't think they're tracking the RFID in my head or wherever else I might have one.
No, you're right. Yeah.
They're tracking my cell phone.
That'd be too sophisticated.
The SIM card on my bank card today.
Mm-hmm.
They're tracking this tablet, any kind of technology, smart device, anything. They're tracking your goddamn radio on your car while you're driving down the street. They're tracking those kind of things. I just didn't know that I was, doing something by being out in public, and every time I would go anywhere, any place that I frequented enough, that I would meet people, have friends, have relationships going on, some person would always show up there to make a complaint about me. And if I didn't get arrested due to that complaint, at the very least, I got trespassed. And I didn't realize, and yes, there are people outside of the police that are doing these sorts of things. Police will show up, flash your badge, say if you have any problem, you give me a call, we'll come get this guy and remove him. I've caught the cops doing that sort of stuff to me, today. Like, I started getting wise to it. After my father was killed, I went up to Washington. I guess you wanted to talk about, how I realized that I had the implants, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't realize, like I said, why all these things were happening to me, why I could never go somewhere where, someone didn't make a complaint or put in a call to the police that the police could show up. And every time the police showed up, I don't think that it was because they got a call, but they would say that was it or something. But, You know,
Hmm.
the police know how things are and how the system operates. They know people are being implanted and targeted, and that they're there to target them. And there are people outside of the cops that show up and make complaints about you. I mean, just anywhere you go, you're not allowed to be. If you go somewhere, you have a life, you make friends, you can like find jobs, things go right for your life. They gotta fuck it up. So the only thing you can be is some sort of broke homeless bum that they can call a piece of shit and put in a cage.
Mm.
And they can set you up on any kind of charge in any kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just their story against yours because you're some guy that's isolated that they've already ran through the system and put all this shit on your name so many times. It's just simply beating you up, putting you in a car, putting you in a cage, and saying this and that. That's all there is to it. You have to fight the cases. So,
Okay, we're at hour 2 now, Chris. We're hour 2. Well, we're hour 3 now. We're in hour 3.
Okay. Well, we're almost getting to the part where I leave state and get the implants out.
Okay.
So, you know, I didn't know what to do. Like, my mom had me arrested so many damn times. I couldn't be nothing but homeless after I went to Texas to work this job as sales manager for the guy that I was working for in Yuma when they set me up and got me my job lost. You know, I kept getting rehired with the guy because I would just always find out where he was running the spot at. You know, the one problem I had was being able to sell more merchandise for a higher price than anybody else. So I got some people fired and took their jobs. And so, you know, I got this job and I'm with this guy. I'm working in Corpus Christi, Texas, running this spot there, making all this money. And I come back to Arizona and they did that thing where they said they pulled up some ticket that I paid off long ago and said that there were additional consequences that the judge didn't order me, and you know, said that my license was suspended. They towed my car, sold it at auction. I went to the courthouse. I was like, you know, why'd you do all this to me? They said there was additional consequences that the judge didn't order. I told them straight up, the judge didn't order that. You know, he said pay the ticket off in full or take the classes. They tried to tell me that I had to, you know, take the classes also, that wasn't an option and I didn't meet the requirements and I didn't do it, so my license was suspended, my car was towed, da-da-da-da-da. I said, that's simply not the truth. I want you to pull up the court records from 2 years ago that this ticket was paid off, and they told me if I didn't leave now, I was going to be arrested. They wouldn't pull up the court records because, you know, it was a total fictitious lie just to jack me for my ride, so I couldn't be a self-employed entrepreneur, independent contractor. I had to be a bum on the street all of a sudden simply because they did that, because I couldn't employ myself anymore. And after that point in my life, I was never able to work any job again except petition circulator, independent contractor, as a bum. So if I made any money at all, you know, it's like being a bum drifter while, you know, trying to go to the homeless shelter and bathe or something like that. And, you know, it was just, you know, barely enough money to, like, you know, maybe get a motel and live in motels, you know, from time to time. And since that was the way my life was, and I was being stalked constantly, I couldn't sleep in the tree, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't work, you know. There was always a cop rolling up or someone to call the cops on me, you know, like anytime I was standing off somewhere alone, it was the cops showing up to take me to jail. And my father died, you know, someone got a hold of my phone number and told me my father was dead. So I went to California to save my father from the dumpster that he was about to be cremated and thrown in. And, I got his ashes and everything. And after that, the wires are all up in my head. And, I never got the chance to know my father's side of the family or anything. There was a time when I was younger that I went there and found that the house had been sold, but my grandparents were still alive, and some dude named Kevin Smith that was robbing me didn't want me to know about my house or my trust funds, and wouldn't tell me where my grandparents were, and then they died shortly after, and wouldn't tell me where my father was or nothing, and I never got to know him, but anyways, so after he was dead and I collected his ashes in an urn, I went to Idaho to go see my uncle that was about to die. And, that's when the programming started happening to me worse. It was like, they killed my father. They moved to my uncle on my mother's side, probably. Like, he died of cancer from what I understand, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have something to do with that, honestly. I simply, told some preacher dude that I've been shaped up in my head a bunch of times with some implants, and, he flipped out, called the crisis center on me. I was up in the mental health ward for it.
Wow.
But, that's how that stuff started in Washington.
Oh, man.
But, okay, what I was going to say was I get to Idaho, I meet my uncle and my cousins, and it was like they whacked my father by torturing him under mind control. They might have drove him to suicide or somebody killed him. It was a poisoning. The case was not, specified like it was like a mystery. I got there and I found out, the police report said it was all this unsolved mystery shit nobody actually knew for certain. But so after I collect his dead ass in an urn, I go to the Idaho, and the targeting on me just went fucking ballistic, and I started getting teleported and sodomized. And I was like straight out Avatar, and like I was like so separated from myself. I felt like some dead person hanging outside my body, like I was like this little voice that was trying to get back into me and steer, control my speech, control my bodily functions. And I was getting teleported and sodomized like several times a day. And I'm sitting there, I tried to get a job at Panda Express, but I couldn't get a job because, while I was in California and when I went up to Idaho, my mom was in Arizona making police reports that I'm running around in the backyard at night and, that I'm trespassing and all this shit. So I've got brand new warrants for my arrest that I still have to this day. And, I just, now that I know I'm a targeted individual, I don't walk around with a cell phone the cops can track anymore. And, now I know how to not come up on the police radar.
Okay.
I walk around with nothing but like a few dollars in my pocket, and the cops don't know where I'm at, so they can fucking come after me. But, while I'm in California burying my father, and I'm in Idaho trying to get a job and settle down there so I can get a place and get to know my uncle and cousins.
Yeah.
And I can't get a job because my name is just so fucked forever. I can't get a job. And then I start just going completely bonkers, being teleported and sodomized and being like avatared out of my body. Like I'm like not even a human being anymore. And this whole time I've been under the thing that I haven't even gotten into, the whole spiritual, delusion thing or whatever.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
The way the mind control programs work.
yes,
You think Jesus is talking to you and the devil is after your soul, trying to, put you in hell and get all these bad things to happen to you because you've been saved or whatever.
right,
When you're born again, kind of crap mind control programs that they do to people.
right.
And so, like, I'm being teleported every day. Now, throughout my life, being abducted and implanted, like I said, you have your mind steered away from you. Like, you're not even able to, like, you either can't remember it or you're not able to think about it because you got wires in your head, and if you start thinking about, I'm being abducted and these things are being done to me, you get abducted and your mind gets swiped, and you're reprogrammed and you're bombarded with all these spiritual delusions of spiritual crap, or you think that you've got some ESP power or the powers of the spirits or whatever, all these things they do to keep your mind so bombarded that you can't even think about anything. I mean, there's just so much to say about all the mind control programs of themselves.
So true. It's like it's always another layer.
Well, I mean, it started in childhood with boogeyman under the bed, with the dreams of going off to space at night, and developed into, like, I would think that I saw auras on people, and I mean, I had electrode wires in my optical nerves that were altering my visual abilities, but I didn't know that. I thought I was seeing ghosts or that I was seeing auras on people or something like that, and all that just developed, and you think that you have a voice, like when you read a book or something, you hear your own voice in your head, what you're reading, and you think that, oh, I'm just daydreaming. When I was younger, I thought, oh, I had a problem with daydreaming, is what I thought, or I thought that I had this problem with just thinking negative thoughts about things.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
And that, I mean, was what eventually developed into the V2K, like, and it turned into a delusion. I mean, and it was like when I came of age, the thoughts weren't like negative things like, oh, I don't think so and so likes me, or like I feel stupid, or like it wasn't like the girl doesn't like you, or you're not going to succeed at this, like failure messages that, because I read a book on psychology because I was like daydreaming and hearing these voices, like I was trying to figure out like, things like why I saw these auras or ghosts, and I was reading all this stuff about the human brain and psychology and stuff, and and I came to the conclusion that psychology says, well, the mind just happens to generate, a voice sometimes, like the subconscious mind. So my whole life I thought, oh, my subconscious mind is just like this negative thing that, is generating these thoughts, about stuff. And it wasn't until I started growing up, becoming a man in my 20s, that the thoughts that I was generating, which were much more mundane in my youth, that were about daydreaming or whatever, they started developing into, more like what I was, programs written on what I was thinking to carry out certain agendas to make me a certain kind of person, which I explained pretty much was that I was, supposed to like be some gay, druggy loser that loves Mexicans and Africans in the ghetto and poverty, and how there were all these mind control programs to try to make me into a person that was like that, and how it involved spiritual possession and stuff. I mean, I went into a great deal about how they were trying to, so the mundane, simple, things of life, what does so-and-so think about you, or you're self-conscious, how do I look to, what are these people, am I, thinking or saying the right things, or it all just changed and started turning out to be because what I was thinking is I lived in a ghetto shithole, and I couldn't meet no decent girls, so the voice started trying to tell me that I hate women because, they want me to have money and a car and a good life, so they could like me. And then, the voice started telling me, to be gay. If I be gay, I will have psychic powers,
Wow.
It's
really?
Well, if you get into occult philosophy and the way the brain works and the human mind, the masculine, feminine, left and right brain, stuff like that, there's some, way that is actually a case,
No, I understand all about that myself.
People, they go around they're very artistic and stuff like that, and that's a feminine quality.
Yeah.
Because they're gay, they access those parts of their brain or whatever, and they have the wires in my head. They want to do that to me and undoubtedly study that kind of shit. But I wasn't. Please don't cut me off. I wasn't gonna do that, and so what they wanted me to do is they wanted me to do drugs. They wanted me to be gay. They wanted me to, be all the things that they wanted me to be that could be a medical experiment that they could extract data from with all the fucking wires in my head and organs. And, I wasn't about being any of those things. I was about being a normal person and, dating, I didn't get a chance to be Italian or know anything like that. So, I just wanted to date a white girl in college. I wanted to be normal. I fought my whole life trying to go to college and be in college. I was a smart person except for what was happening to me. It was like a learning disability that I had to fight with my whole life. But it just got worse as I got older. And the more that I tried to do and be with my life. And so the targeting that had happened, that all built up one level on another, from this ESP crap to this, I see the spirits of the afterlife. I could see the Native Americans that once lived there. There's sometimes someone told me this is a Native American burial ground one time, and so I thought I was looking at the Native Americans that once lived there, wandering spirits, or I thought I saw apparitions of kids playing soccer in the soccer field, at some park or something. I thought that I saw dead people that had returned from the other side to live, and when I was a kid there was a lot of that, John Edwards crap on TV that kind of enforced those psychic medium stuff, the TV, all the programming, the indoctrination of religion, all that pumps that crap into your head. And then once you get some wires into your brain that can alter your brain functions, they start making you believe that stuff. And, so they decide to progress their data extraction from my brain so they can make their computer algorithms to a whole nother level. And they want to do all these more experiments on me, and they wanted me to be all these horrible, sick, disgusting things that I didn't want for my life, so they could run those experiments and say all the shit that they was going to say about me and all that. And so instead of, when I grew up, it was like much less of an assault on my brain, while I was going to school, and I kept trying to go to school. But they had to make it into a spiritual warfare thing, so then I could be completely bombarded by voices. And, everything they wanted to try to force me to be was the, demons messing with me, and I needed to go find Christ to save me from the demons. And then I went to the church, and some guys put their hands on me and prayed over me, and all of a sudden I was filled by the Holy Ghost, and I had this warm, fuzzy feeling, and I wasn't quite aware at the time that it was microwave radiation EMF that was altering my body's magnetic fields, and I wasn't quite aware that I had electrodes wired into my brain emotional center that was making me feel happiness or joy, that the Holy Ghost was upon me, and all that crap. And I didn't know that I had electrodes that ran into my cochleas that put electrical signals into my cochlea, telling my brain that I was hearing shit that wasn't there either.
Right.
And,
wow.
So that's kind of how those programs work, and you run around, thinking that the spirits of the afterlife, the devil and the Lord, are fighting for your soul or whatever, and living a life, getting a girlfriend, having a career. Those are the sins of greed, and those are the sins of lust, and that allows the devil to possess your body, and shit like that. You're basically, no matter what, the program was somehow just supposed to make me a worthless bum, loser that didn't do anything with my life they could call a piece of shit, and put in a cage, give drugs and implants to, and call a piece of shit, and make a medical experiment discredited that people think is crazy and all that. And so, I had all that stuff happening to me, and I knew my whole life I was being abducted, even though it was like being swiped from my head. I knew that these implants were in me. I knew that I had all these scars that appeared on my body, and, but, things were being swiped from my head. I was being programmed. I was being heavily bombarded with all this spiritual shit, all this voices in my head, and I was being locked up and arrested all the time. I couldn't sit anywhere in public without some police running up on me or some fucking weirdo trying to get me to buy and use drugs with them. And, so after my father died, I just got up and left the state. I went to Idaho, and then the whole abduction and the rapings began, and, I couldn't get a job. I couldn't live. I had to be homeless, and I just went so far insane from everything that was happening to me. I was at this homeless shelter thing, and I did two things. I applied for the Social Security because some dude happened to be there doing it and told me how, and I was applying for this Angel Arms program that helped people that were homeless chronically get into housing and whatnot. Since there was no way I could get a job from all the marks on my name, I was chronically homeless. Since I couldn't have a car, I couldn't self-employ myself, I couldn't get a job because of the marks on my name, and all I could be is a homeless person. So they got the medical records. I applied for Social Security. They interviewed me, and all I had to talk about was how I was being abducted and raped in my ass by the damn fucking UFO, and I ended up on Social Security. And,
Okay.
With that happening to me, I'm like looking for UFO people, and I start hearing about people that are abducted having their memories swiped from the abductions, and then I find Misha Johnston, who talks about military abductees and targeted individuals, told me about targeted individuals. I found other people who was all talking about how they hear the voices, the V2K, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like, and I start realizing that what I'm going through, you know, sounds like all these alien abduction, military abduction stories,
Mm-hmm.
and all these targeted individuals are saying the same things, who even say that their V2K is voice of God weapons and stuff like that to me. And I'm like, man, this all makes sense, you know, and you know, some lady had told me in Arizona that I had implants, that you brought up about the mother of this girl, and she was an RN and the nurse, and you know, because I had all these voices about spiritualism in my head, I was sitting there, I was a walking encyclopedia for the Bible at the time, until it was like erased from my memory. You know, when the program of the Bible, like being a dickless Christian bum that ministers the gospel and walks the earth like Jesus wasn't working, like they erased like everything I knew about the Bible from my head.
Wow.
And you know, that was like when they was erasing my head every day to sodomize me, I suppose. I lost like more and more of my memories. But she had said something. We had a religious discussion. She told me she believed in Star Trek, and you know, telling me that you believe in Star Trek because I'm like being abducted by like this StarCraft thing. It starts triggering those memories in my head that are being swiped from my memory that I'm not supposed to think about, you know, and like when I talk about it, like people will tell you, oh no, that's just the demons, you know, the prince of the sky, the prince of the air, the demons are flying around the sky, like, you know, they'll minister you at church if you try to tell them that, and people like, oh no, that's just, they try to get you like thinking, no, it's the spirits, it's the powers of the spirits some more, and like everything's done to like make you think that it's anything other than what it is that's happening to you, and that's all being erased from your mind. But anyways, like, she tells me that she believes in Star Trek, so I'm like, I invite her to the Star Trek movie when it comes out, and I'm telling her about, you know, how I've been abducted all my life, and you know, she calls the mental health crisis center on me, and
Jesus.
what they do is they take me and they're like, they start asking me, do you have implants? So I guess she told them that I had said I had implants, and you know, I didn't say anything about the implants, but with the idea of the Star Trek thing, and you know, I've been seeing like this Star Trek craft my whole life, you know, and it's always there, and I've seen other crafts. I saw a craft in my backyard that looked like Millennium Falcon that opened a watery looking bluish white light circle in the air and flew into it. And you know, I saw that shit in my backyard. And you know, I've seen the TR-3B in you know, many occasions with both bluish white propulsion. When they hit the brakes, it's the bright white light when they stop at Hoover, and they can kind of dim it, you know, when they hoover there if they want, but when they hit the brakes, it looks like white, and when they shoot off, it's like the bluish white light. When they fly down low at a low altitude, like, it looked kind of like an orangish amber light. But, you know, I've been seeing all this stuff, like, my life, you know, having these military abduction crafts follow me around, and, you know, I've told people about it sometimes, and when I told her about it, she, you know, I guess it's her way of telling me I have implants, and I started finding out about military abduction, targeted individuals, and implants even more. And I continued to study implants, biomedical devices, until I figured out that, that I had wires in my head. And I was talking to Laura Soloway, and she had sent me this thing about Conclear implant, and I saw that Conclear implant was this wire that runs into your ears in your head. And I found pictures of wires like running into the ears in my head and wires in my brain, and I found out about deep brain stimulation, and then I just started finding out about like the parts of my brain with the wires that were in my brain, and what they were doing to me, and I realized that I had these devices all over my body, wrapped around my nervous system and plugged into my organs, and that neuromodulation was the science and all these series of machines that were being stabbed into my back, stabbed into my gut, wired into my organs, spine, nervous system, pelvis, head. Every organ function I have, there's a damn wire in it. Every nerve I have, there's a damn wire wrapped around it in my head.
Yeah.
It was a process of discovery
Mm-hmm.
that I had to come and put this complete picture to, that I've been going through my whole life, that I keep getting like deprogrammed and reprogrammed, like to not believe in, and it was that I always had to believe that it was something else, and if it wasn't ESP, it was gonna be the spirits, and if it wasn't the spirits, then and it was kind of like the spiritual program ran out of program in itself. Like, they wanted to keep changing, what the voices told me, and, the way things were, and, like, it was just how they were trying to make me think, act, be, and do things. Like, it was all about control. It was like, whatever the spirits tell you, like, to get you to do, think, be, and go, and do whatever, like, like, and they didn't make sense, and they wanted to rape me, and, like, they wanted to do so much to me, like, I couldn't not believe in what was happening to me and believe in the spirit voices anymore. Like, I just, found about implants and V2K and targeted individuals, military abduction, and MK Ultra, and everything else. And that's how I've come to be where I am now today.
Oh my God, thank you, Chris. Honestly, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you got it out. I really am.
Right. Well, I needed to, like, get that out.
Yeah. No, you did, and it's going to help a lot of people.
I couldn't do it in an hour.
No, it's okay. Of course, I get it.
I actually did all that stuff and wrote you all that, to try to, like, get it out very well. I didn't get it out as well as that I wanted to, but...
Oh, you did actually really good. You did good. Don't worry. It's great. I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised. I actually am surprised. It came out really well. Yeah.
It came out as the wires allowed it to come out, basically. Like,
right, but your perspective needs to be heard. That's what I think. Your perspective, because you're so reductive. You reduce everything to like a very sane. I mean, I don't know how you could stay sane in all this, but you have, and that.
I don't know what you mean by reductive.
Well, you reduce things very well. Like you reduce all these most people will invent a fantasy, or it's easier to live in a fantasy. It's easier to believe this lie than to try to process the shit that you've processed. Most people do
I
that.
wouldn't say that. I mean, I guess it is kind of easy to believe in a lie, but I mean, here's how I see this. There are people that are stupid, people who
Yeah.
would rather be stupid and believe in some fantasy, and then there are people that have a lot of help to be stupid. That's how I
Right.
would explain my situation. Like, you know, I had a logical, analytical mind, and, you know, but that's something that science can erase and reprogram and make you think about, you know, various different things. There's like the time that I had the car accident arranged to happen to me, and you know, I was teleported. There was like that tractor beam stuff going on. Like there was time travel involved. Like, you know, I swear that Starcraft, you know, being able to look through time through my eyeballs.
I
The
know what you're
communications
saying.
grid, just let me say it, please, and the GPS location that they had me on, as well as the way that the traffic light changed, that they had arranged to have me T-bone. And there was the other time I was riding my bicycle, and I was like lifted off of my bicycle supernaturally and like flipped over and dropped on my head by like some sort of tractor beam. And like that's how they can like fuck you up, and like, you know, you don't understand how like that happens to you maybe at the time or whatever, and even if you did, and you know, then they could just erase it from your head. But if they didn't erase it from your head and you did say it, then you're just some crazy person that said that, you know. But like you go around arranging accidentally on purpose, and like, you know, there was one time that, I mean, this stuff sounds crazy, but a car teleported doing 55 miles an hour and almost ran me over in the crosswalk to kill me. Like there's things like that can be done, and there are people who show up, and it's like I'm Truman in the Truman Show, but you know, the Truman Show isn't about, you know, keeping me in the Truman Show. It's about arranging my accidental death and getting me like ran over in the street or something like that. You know, some guy walks up to you to talk to you, and you know, when you're standing at the crosswalk, they'll walk up to you. They'll say, and I'm only saying this because how many times it's happened, and you know, and there might be more than one of them, and they tend to wear black a lot, but they'll walk up to you while you're waiting to cross. They'll talk to you, and then even though it's not like the time to cross, there's you know, you're waiting for the light to change. They start crossing the street, and while they're talking to you, and it's like the wires in your head tell you to cross the street and walk with them, and then you see there's some car that is like far off from any other cars coming out of nowhere that's, you know, racing full speed across the intersection. It's like people show up and they're like trying to like guide you into an oncoming car to be hit and killed, and you know, the wires in your head are like kind of going along with that. It's like the people that are on the other side of this program that got the wires in my head are showing up to try to help what they want to do to me happen. If it's getting me hit by a car and killed, it's that. If it's getting me locked up, then they show up to have some kind of problem or altercation with me, and one of the other ones can make in a phone call to the police, or they just fucking phone in a call to you and, against you because you're sitting somewhere in public. Like, the people that do this to me, I mean, outside of the police, the regular police that do what they do, like, sometimes there are the people there that that they're just there for you because the way they're there to look at you, the way they're there to start conversations with you, and say things to you, and like, they might be purely in shape or something, like someone that could potentially be employed by the military, like, or even when they're a cop, they look like pretty much the same thing, and then they walk up to the counter of the place where you're eating lunch, show their badge, and say, oh, this guy, this, that, and the other, if you have problems with him, put in a call, because he's this, that, and the other, and, you better keep your eye on him, sort of thing that I've seen so many times. Like, so, I mean, it's like the Wizard of Oz, and, the guy behind the curtain who has the great God machine to wield all power and make accidentally, on purpose, oops happen to people, and call, the, like, Final Destination death shit that they arrange, or the crimes that they arrange by mind controlling other people against you, even. I mean, I feel like that is a part of it, like,
It is.
I'm not the only one that's this way.
No.
And, like, the guy in the church who's hearing the voice of Jesus or the devil in his head thinks, all the stuff that they think about you, and, they want to, not like you or do something screwed up to you. If you're homeless in the street, they got the other homeless guy wired up the same way they got you wired up, and so, like, these kind of problems happen to you. People want to jack you, assault you, start stuff with you, and people that are behind the curtain are making that stuff happen to you. At the same time, they're showing up to, make the police report call about it or whatever, and the cops show up, and, any of the time the cops there, they've got you on their computer coming over their radio saying about this person, and then next thing you know, you got the little wired dope fiend they busted trying to come up and give you drugs, and, stuff like that. And if it's not about that, it's about, something else, and it's about them asking you questions about how you think and feel like stuff, like you're being investigated.
Oh,
There's
I
just
know.
so much that, you don't realize it until you, like, come to terms with it, like, and you hear all the stories about everyone else that has experienced the same things, and it just starts adding up. You start understanding that those are all the things that happened to me all those times. Like, that makes sense. They were tracking my cell phone. Yeah. And that's why they came up on me. Or they were the higher level of government people, the military, the CIA operatives, whoever's on the other side of the teleportation, putting in the implants, writing the program that's being streamed into my implants over the communications grid. Whoever those people are, got the guys working for them that are following me in the street trying to, like, be like, have you ever seen that show Dead Like Me?
Rings a bell, but I don't think so.
Well, this girl gets hit by a flying toilet seat, came off the fake station, and kills her, and then she becomes a Grim Reaper, and the Grim Reaper goes around, and they touch you, and then these little demon things, like, start coming around you and arrange, like, some freak accident to kill you or something like that.
Yeah, they tell us what they're doing in all the shows. And they actually project back what they've done to us on the shows.
Yeah. These people that are doing that go and write these movie scripts or
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
They get it. Yeah. They maximize it.
Clear that I'm not saying some crazy shit like that is what's happening to me. Is what I want to.
No, your perspective is great. It really is. I know it's going to help a lot of people, and the way you understand it, it's very good. Thank you.
I'm trying to say this is a symbolic representation of what is actually happening to me, because that's what it is.
I know.
That's why I'm referring to it, but as a symbolic representation. I want to make sure that
I know.
I know you want to say whatever you want to say, but I got to make sure that people don't, get the wrong idea and think that I'm saying crazy shit when I'm not. So, I mean, that's a symbolic representation of what's happening to me in the terms of, like, Wizard of Oz on the other side of the God machine, telecommunications grid wired to us by implants. Like,
you've done a great job.
Running around, and they can see inside of my head. They know where I'm at, and they know the environment I'm in, and they just kind of come along and either they make some kind of complaint against me, some kind of problem, some sort of physical altercation in public, that's like a disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people that can relate to you. And we have this on the record now, and thank you. Right. So we're going to have to wrap it up.
That's what I've been realizing, and there might not be demons that are coming from some place like that.
Well, thank you. You're absolutely. I know you're right. The way you have seen it and expressed it, I agree.
They do have technologies and stuff.
I know they do. Yeah. Right. So maybe we can get rid of that whole UFO community nutsiness, the whole spectacle of it. It's just a torture program.
There's like tractor beams, there's ways that they can make accidents happen that, if anyone was to think that it was anything other than an accident, they're just crazy anyway, but they can use the GPS, they can use the time travel, they can use the implants in your head, and they can have people there stalking you to kind of help guide you into all the stuff that they're intending to arrange to happen to you.
It's in the public record now, Chris. Your story is now a public document, and this will start the reversal process for some of the torture that they do. It does. That's how it's worked for me. But you have to stick at it, but that's...
There's a reversal program or anything like that.
Well, I don't even know. That's just what I believe. But I do feel better, and I am getting to... I'm becoming more whole. These scattered pieces of myself that were shattered across the universe are kind of piecing back together. That's the way I see it. But I appreciate your dialogue.
Logically, like you said, analytically, logically, scientifically.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're very good at that, and I appreciate it.
Very mystical in my
right.
thoughts.
Yes.
Mysticism is something that was like a horrible crime that raped my life, and
yes.
I believe there are sciences that we don't understand on this primitive shit Earth with our consciousness level, but
No, I congratulate you. How much you've put together on your own. I really do. And your perspective, and your articulation. You're good at it.
I'm not really looking for an applause or nothing, but thanks.
I know, but come on, we need to hear it sometimes. And honestly, if anyone needs to hear it, it's you. It's long overdue. This, this shit end of the stick.
What I want to hear
poking at you.
There's a documentary of my implant removal.
Yeah, me too.
Of television, or at least on the
No,
internet.
I want that too. You know, my next interview is with another TI who is getting he's actually doing testing, and he's getting like some. Anyway, it's about dealing with these implant removals and the nanoparticulates and what it is. And this woman named Amy Holm, she's going to be on the show as well, and she does forensic audio analysis with low frequencies so that she can decode frequencies that are actually being blasted at us.
You know,
It is.
I'm not the only one that's this way.
No.
And, you know, like, the guy in the church who's hearing the voice of Jesus or the devil in his head thinks, you know, all the stuff that they think about you, and, you know, they want to, you know, not like you or do something screwed up to you. If you're homeless in the street, they got the other homeless guy wired up the same way they got you wired up. And so, like, these kind of problems happen to you. People want to jack you, assault you, start stuff with you, and people that are behind the curtain are making that stuff happen to you. At the same time, they're showing up to, you know, make the police report call about it or whatever, and the cops show up, and, you know, any of the time the cops there, they've got you on their computer coming over their radio saying about this person, you know, and then next thing you know, you got the little wired dope fiend they busted trying to come up and give you drugs and, you know, stuff like that. And if it's not about that, it's about, you know, something else. And it's about them asking you questions about how you think and feel like stuff, like you're being investigated.
Oh,
There's
I
just
know.
so much that, you know, you don't realize it until you, like, come to terms with it, like, and you hear all the stories about everyone else that has experienced the same things, and it just starts adding up. You start understanding that those are all the things that happened to me all those times. Like, that makes sense. They were tracking my cell phone.
Yeah.
And that's why they came up on me. Or they were the higher level of government people, the military, the CIA operatives, whoever's on the other side of the teleportation, putting in the implants, writing the program that's being streamed into my implants over the communications grid. You know, whoever those people are, got the guys working for them that are following me in the street trying to, like, be like, have you ever seen that show Dead Like Me?
Rings a bell, but I don't think so.
Well, this girl gets hit by a flying toilet seat, came off the face station, and kills her, and then she becomes a Grim Reaper, and the Grim Reaper goes around, and they touch you, and then these little demon things, like, you know, start coming around you and arrange, like, you know, some freak accident to kill you or something like that.
Yeah, they tell us what they're doing in all the shows. And they actually project back what they've done to us on the shows.
Yeah. These people that are doing that go and write these movie scripts or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
they get it. Yeah. They maximize it.
Clear that I'm not saying some crazy shit like that is what's happening to me. Is what I want to.
No, your perspective is great. It really is. I know it's going to help a lot of people, and the way you understand it, it's very good. Thank you.
I'm trying to say this is a symbolic representation of what is actually happening to me, because that's what it is.
I know.
That's why I'm referring to it, but as a symbolic representation. I want to make sure that,
I know.
You know, I know you want to say whatever you want to say, but I got to make sure that people don't, you know, get the wrong idea and think that I'm saying crazy shit when I'm not. So, I mean, that's a symbolic representation of what's happening to me in the terms of, like, you know, Wizard of Oz on the other side of the God machine, telecommunications grid is wired to us by implants. Like, you know,
you've done a great job.
Running around, you know, and they can see inside of my head, they they know where I'm at, and they know the environment I'm in, and they just kind of come along and either they make some kind of complaint against me, some kind of problem, some sort of physical altercation in public, that's like a disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people that can relate to you. And we have this on the record now, and thank you.
Right.
So we're going to have to wrap it up.
That's what I've been realizing, and they might not be demons that are coming from some place like that.
Well, thank you. You're absolutely. I know you're right. The way you have seen it and expressed it, I agree.
They do have technologies and stuff.
I know they do. Yeah. Right. So maybe we can get rid of that whole UFO community nutsiness, the whole spectacle of it. It's just a torture program.
There's like tractor beams, like there's ways that they can make accidents happen that if anyone was to think that it was anything other than an accident, they're just crazy anyway. But they can use the GPS, they can use the time travel, they can use the implants in your head, and they can have people there stalking you to kind of help guide you into all the stuff that they're intending to arrange to happen to you.
It's in the public record now, Chris. Your story is now a public document, and this will start the reversal process for some of the torture that they do. It does. That's how it's worked for me. But you have to stick at it, but that's...
There's a reversal program or anything like that.
Well, I don't even know. That's just what I believe. But I do feel better, and I am getting to... I'm becoming more whole. These scattered pieces of myself that were shattered across the universe are kind of piecing back together. That's the way I see it. But I appreciate your dialogue.
Logically, like you said, analytically, logically, scientifically.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're very good at that, and I appreciate it.
Very mystical in my
right.
thoughts.
Yes.
Mysticism is something that was like a horrible crime that raped my life, and
yes.
I believe there are sciences that we don't understand on this primitive shit Earth with our consciousness level, but
No, I congratulate you how much you've put together on your own. I really do. And your perspective and your articulation. You're good at it.
I'm not really looking for an applause or nothing, but thanks.
I know, but come on, we need to hear it sometimes. And honestly, if anyone needs to hear it, it's you. It's long overdue. This, this shit end of the stick poking at you.
Is a documentary of my implant removal.
Yeah, me too.
Of television, or at least on the
No, I want that too. My next interview is with another TI who is getting he's actually doing testing, and he's getting like some. Anyway, it's about dealing with these implant removals and the nanoparticulates and what it is. And this woman named Amy Holm, she's going to be on the show as well, and she does forensic audio analysis with low frequencies so that she can decode frequencies that are actually being blasted at us, microwaved at people, or underneath, a radio, TV signal, anything. So that's the next one, and because of course yours is like that, and so is Sean's, and he's coming back on the next episode. I mean, it's really, this is crucial to my healing as well. I deal with a lot of stuff. I've got the case, and I actually work part
Well,
time.
that's what I want. I want to have a case.
Yeah,
After my documentary implant removal,
yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, I have to want to be like world famous for being a freak. So, like,
No, I know. That's what exactly.
so I can try to have the proof that is necessary because the
All
proof
right.
alone isn't proof enough. And
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
because the system is what's responsible for doing it, and they say what the truth is, and the truth is never heard or spoken.
Well, we're changing that. We're changing that. That ends today. That ends today.
Well, it doesn't end today, but
Well, we got to say that and just keep imprinting it so that it comes true. Anyway, Chris, thank you so much.
Believe that either. I believe that this could, however, maybe possibly, result to an action taken that could result to a implant removal documentary lawsuit, freedom from America, and the beginning of my fucking life, and what's left of it.
No, true. Cheers to that. All right, thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon. I'll pick you up on the other side. Thank you, folks, for listening.
It's costing me money. Because I ain't been like this when I was at the track having people distracting me. It's after these done phone betting where I can do it from home with no fucking interruptions. Either if she cannot bear you, you have to get your stuff and go right now, Chris. There's a big flyover tonight in the south, and I'm gonna win it. If you weren't here, I'd win it. How do you think I keep taking jobs that pay less because I make the difference in the races?
I'm sorry you bought a tiny little dog that barks at people.
She does. I don't have a problem with not here. That's what you need to fucking. I told you this morning to make friends with her. You didn't, so you need to leave now before the races start. You were told this morning that I wasn't going to have this evening. I was playing low south. So either in the next 5 minutes, you better make up with her or get out.
Yes, I'm going to achieve a level of consciousness with this dog in 5 minutes that is going to make things better. But then it'll be something. Even if I did magically connect on a universal level with the dog's consciousness. Yes, tell me how I'm a sociopath that should never breed.
Actually, you've been diagnosed as a sociopath.
I'm racially inferior, tell me. Like you said to Ron.
What?
Tell me again about your conversation with Ron, how a racially inferior person like me shouldn't breed.
Said that with your mental illness on your side of the family, it's a good thing you didn't have with kids.
Yes, because I'm bad blood, correct?
That's what my dad said when he didn't want me to marry your father, said that family had bad blood and it turned out to be right.
Right.
Mental illness.
Yeah, I'm the problem.
It comes from the Sicilian side.
Right,
Years later, after I moved here, I knew this Italian guy, and he said it's the Sicilians, they're all crazy.
Yeah.
The Sicilian blood.
Right. All Sicilians should be locked up, medicated, and killed off. And
I didn't say that.
oh, you did just say that. I just want you to say it some more.
You use people. Though.
Yeah, there you go.
You use people everywhere.
Right. Everything's my fault. I'm worthless, right?
No, you use people. That's the
Right.
bottom line.
I use
That you could quit doing what you don't want to.
Tell me some more. I'm how about how worthless I am as a human being, please.
You choose to.
But I'm Sicilian. I can't help it. It's my bad blood, right?
Quit using people.
By that you mean socially interacting with you and being in your presence, right?
You use people.
That means being here in your presence.
I'm not going to yell at my house. That's as simple as that. Where's my dishes? My container that I put my thing in. Where'd it go? My plastic thing I put my... Where is it, Chris? It was in the here. What did you do with it? It was here this morning. My plastic thing that I put my stuff in. I need to know now. I have to be there before 6.
I made some soup.
Well, where is it?
It's in the fridge with my soup in it.
I don't see it.
I have soup in a container in the fridge. Can't you use another container?
Oh, great. No, none of them fits it. That fit it.
So tell me some more how everything's my fault.
You could quit using people.
No, everything's my fault, right? I'm the problem. I should be blamed for all things.
Well, things are peaceful here when you're not here.
Just you, the horse track, and a cat.
This is way too big for this. I don't know if it's going to fit in the freezer. You go to places and live off people.
I do, huh?
And then you abuse them at the same time.
By that you mean like I grew up, you're a child, and you know I didn't pay for myself, and I subtracted money from the horse races to exist?
What?
You mean paying for a child was a problem? It kept you busy from the horse races.
You had everything you needed. I supported you.
I had nothing.
Your father...
Bill supported you.
Uh-uh.
You didn't support anything.
Yes, I did. I didn't... Bill never gave me money.
And then you sent me to jail so the jail would support me.
That's because
You never supported me at all.
That's not true. I worked for years as a nurse supporting you. After I graduated in 90, I worked.
Bill supported everybody.
No, sir. I bought all the food. You don't know. All Bill did was pay the rent. I paid everything else. So that shows how ignorant you are.
You saved up money for this house.
Not till after I moved here.
and horses.
You're getting out now. I'm calling the police. You're getting out now. Because you're a goddamn liar. And I'm not having someone lie about me in my house.
I'm not lying.
I paid for that house in Mission, Texas. I paid the $10,000 down on it, not Bill. I did. I paid the $10,000 down on it from working at the hospital in Brownsville. You're a goddamn liar and you're getting out now. Get out. You're making me late for my appointment. You're getting out now. I'm not putting up with your goddamn lies. I know what went on. I paid more money than anyone. I supported us all three in Arkansas. He wasn't even working. I supported all three of us in Arkansas. You're a goddamn fucking liar. Besides being mentally ill, you're a goddamn liar.
I'm mentally ill. I'm all sorts of things. I know. I should have never been born. If only you could have held me in.
You believe what you fucking want to believe, not reality. I supported us all in Arkansas.
If that doctor wouldn't have done a C-section, I could have been stillborn, right?
And your father,
Right.
after you were born, said you were supposed to be dead.
I was supposed to be
He was mad that
stillborn.
you were born alive.
All right.
Witnesses heard him say it. Someone
My
from
father.
the church even. He was banned
It's
from
me.
the church.
It's my
That's what your
bloodline.
blood is like.
Yeah.
He was banned him.
It's all my fault
Church doesn't ban anyone.
because I'm a racially inferior Sicilian.
Actually, that's right.
Yeah, I know.
But you're getting out because now I can't go to my appointment, and it's going to cost me anyway.
What's stopping
But
you
you're a
from your
goddamn fucking
appointment?
liar. I supported all three of us in Arkansas. In San Diego, I paid all the food and everything. All buildings paid the rent. In Texas, I'm the one that saved up the $10,000 to buy the house. And I paid everything else. Bill paid the payment.
I wish I would have had more than 3 shirts in school and a girl's backpack.
Well, that was Bill saying you didn't need more.
All right.
Said it was good enough.
I only had 3 shirts my whole
I'm
life
supposed to leave now,
and a
can't,
girl's
because you're a
backpack.
son of a bitch.
I'm a son of a bitch.
Get out. Get out now. Chris, get your stuff and get out.
You gonna drive me back now?
No. I'll drive you to the bus stop. Get out.
Need to go a little further.
You're lying like a fucking bastard.
I'm a bastard.
You don't know anything. You make
That's
up
it.
whatever you want in life. You don't even look at reality.
Right. I don't live in reality.
And everyone knew your father was a fucking nut.
That's why you took me to the human experimentation doctor, right?
You're a crazy
When I was
bastard.
2 years old.
I'll be back in a few minutes and the police will be with me. And if anything's out of order in my house, you will go to jail.
Because I'm inferior.
I'm not dropping charges anymore. I was told not to before. That's why you never learn your lesson.
Because I'm a Sicilian.
Never learn
I
your
deserve prison, death, and everything else.
This is my castle, my escape from the world. I work hard for it and I deserve it. But you're getting out because now I can't go to my appointment. And it's going to cost me anyway.
What's stopping
But
you
you're a
from your
goddamn
appointment?
fucking liar. I supported all three of us in Arkansas. In San Diego, I paid all the food and everything. All buildings paid the rent. In Texas, I'm the one that saved up the $10,000 to buy the house. And I paid everything else. Bill paid the payment.
I wish I would have had more than 3 shirts in school and a girl's backpack.
Well, that was Bill saying you didn't need more.
All right.
Said it was good enough.
I only had 3 shirts my whole
I'm
life.
supposed to leave now, and I
And a
can't.
girl's
Because you're a
backpack.
son of a bitch.
I'm a son of a bitch.
Get out. Get out now. Chris, get your stuff and get out.
You gonna drive me back now?
No. I'll drive you to the bus stop. Get out.
Need to go a little further.
You're lying like a fucking bastard.
I'm a bastard.
You don't know anything. You make
That's
up
it.
whatever you want in life. You don't even look at reality.
Right. I don't live in reality.
And everyone knew your father was a fucking nut.
That's why you took me to the human experimentation doctor, right?
You're a crazy
When I was
bastard.
2 years old.
I'll be back in a few minutes and the police will be with me. And if anything's out of order in my house, you will go to jail.
Because I'm inferior.
I'm not dropping charges anymore. I was told not to before. That's why you never learn your lesson.
Because I'm a Sicilian.
Never learn
I
your
deserve
lesson.
prison, death, and everything else.
This is my castle, my escape from the world. I work hard for it and I deserve it.